joining me today. I'm going to share how I groom Oliver. Look, Oliver. And the basics for today is just brushing him out. And he looks a little rough. We've been at the beach, so today I'm going to give him a complete brushing. And then hopefully in the future I'll show you some other tips and tricks on the extent of his grooming. So like I said, today we'll just be brushing him out. The best brush that I've found for a Shih Tzu is this brush here. It is by 4 Paws. You can't buy it in the stores, they don't carry them anymore. It's a slicker brush, and since the Shih Tzu has 2 coats, they have a coat with finer hair underneath and then the top silky coat. So you need a brush like this. Also, Shih Tzus have hair instead of fur, and it is a lot like your own hair. So let's get started. So Oliver, Oliver was adopted when he was 1 year old, and he was never brushed. He just had short hair. So sometimes he doesn't like his face brushed, but we are gentle with Oliver, and hopefully he'll enjoy his brushing today. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. I always lay on the floor. It's easier for me to lay him on my lap and continue with the brushing. So here, let's get started. So what I do is I just lay him on my lap like this. Let's see. Angle that a little bit up, and I start with his face, which he hates and dislikes the most. So let's see. Oops. Okay, so I start with his ears, and you do have to make sure that you hold the hair at the tip of his ears, because if you do not, you can tear their ears. So you have to make sure you hold the hair at the end and then slowly brush down like this. Once you get the tangles out for that, you can go up a little bit higher because it's not on the very tip of his ears. So then we go underneath. Same thing, make sure you hold the hair at the tip of his ears and brush out. Okay, so I've got one ear done. I do brush Oliver every other day. That way he doesn't get matted up or get tangles or too many tangles. And because of their long fur, you don't want to hurt your little guy. So we'll go ahead and go down a little bit further into the underneath of the ear, like down in here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do the other ear, and then I'll go on. Okay, now that I have Oliver's ears brushed out, we're going to go ahead and move to the face. Like I said, he does not like his face brushed, but we're going to be gentle with Oliver and just go nice and easy. Easy. You have to be very careful that you don't get his eyes, because the brush or the prongs on this are very sharp, and so you have to be very careful in the face area. Okay, now we'll get under his chin and a little bit on his chest, and we'll work on that a little bit more as we get onto the rest of his body. Okay, there's Oliver's face, And he does need a haircut for the top of his head. A lot of people that have Shih Tzus have a top knot, but I don't keep one on him because he likes to play a lot, and it just continues to get tangled. So I just keep the top of his head short. Okay, so the next thing I do is get Oliver and lay him on his side, just like this. Let me see. Angle that down just a little bit. And I start at the very back. Another thing Oliver doesn't care for are brushing his paws, but he's gotten a lot better over the years. So I start at the very base and brush out. And I do one side first. So I just move along like this. Make sure you get his tail. And I will show you one paw, and then we'll see how Ollie does. So you have to start back in here, like right under the top of his hip, and brush down. And once I do that, then I go to his paw, down here at the top of his paw, and since he has long hair, I have to gently go and grab a little bit of hair as I continue to go up his leg. And like I said, he doesn't like it, but he's gotten a lot better throughout the years. And he gets brushed often, so he doesn't have too many tangles, which makes it more tolerable for him since I'm not hurting him. Okay, and we'll get this, oops, I'm sorry, if you can see, we'll get this inner part when we flip him over and do his underbelly. Another thing that's required for a Shih Tzu is their paw. It does grow fur between his little pads. Those have to be trimmed, but I'm not going to do that this round. I'm just going to do the brushing. So here we go. Just continue to go up his back and all along this section down here. And Shih Tzus don't shed that much, but when you brush them, you do get a lot of fur. So here's just the part that you've seen so far, and this is how much fur I've gotten out, or hair. Okay, so now I turn Oliver this way, and you can kind of see his underbelly, and this is when I brush under his front paw, right in here under his armpit, if you want to call it that. And he doesn't mind so much his front paws. It's mostly his back paws that he doesn't like to be handled too much, but overall he's pretty good. Let me angle up my camera just a little bit so you can see better. And then now I can get part of his chest just on this side. Make sure you get under his armpit because that is really fine hair there and it does get tangled. So you want to make sure you get all that brushed out. Okay. And then we'll move back to this section here. Make sure we got all that. My air conditioning is right above me and it is blowing a little bit. Hopefully it'll cut off in a few minutes. And a lot of times when Oliver's done, he'll just squirm and say, I don't want this done anymore. So if he does that, we'll just kind of work with Oliver or stop and continue a little later. Okay, Ollie, let's do your chin again. So we're going for the chin again to make sure we got all the tangles. Okay, so now we're going to put Oliver back on his side, and we're going to go up in this area here behind his ears and shoulder blades, because I didn't get that initially. Okay, so we have one side done, and I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So what I do with Oliver is I'll pick him up and flip him to the other side. And we'll continue to brush this side. So I'm gonna go ahead and continue to do this side. It's exactly the way I did the other section. And I'll come back. Okay everyone, I've got Oliver brushed on this side, so now I'm going to turn him where I have his back legs facing up or facing me like this, and now you can get his underbelly like this, and just make sure you got all the tangles up at the top, and then I'm going to brush on the inside of his back legs. Okay, now that I have that, I'll get him up, and I just put him across my lap so his back legs are hanging off the side, and I'll brush this end and make sure I got all the tangles from his tail out, and lift his tail and get underneath. Give a nice brush all the way from the top, because we do want to part Oliver's hair. He's just about due for a bath, so I'll show you that when it's time for that, how I give him a bath. You always have to brush your Shih Tzu with this long hair to make sure you get all the tangles out before you give him a bath. Okay, so Oliver, sit, sit. Okay, he's going to give a little shake. All right, come here, buddy. Lay down. So I'm going to run the brush all along his back, and that way I can give him a nice part all the way down his back. I usually use a comb, but I didn't bring a comb with me on our trip, so just gonna, the part is pretty natural, so it kind of falls into place since I've been doing this for so long. Oliver is 10 years old in August. He will be 10. And I've got him when he was a year old, so. Okay, buddy, stand up. Up, sit. Now, one thing that Oliver and I have always done is we've become friends again in case I gave him any little tugs or anything when I was brushing him, so him and I give a handshake whenever we're done. Another one too? There we go. So there is Oliver, all brushed and ready for his day today. All right, take care.